Welcome to Boomer Between the Games, presented by Xfinity. I'm your host, Boomer Esiason. Now, later on, we'll take a look at some of the games, especially the Joe Flacco game against the Miami Dolphins and how impressive that was. And then we're going to take a look ahead to some great Week 14 matchups in the NFL. But first, let's welcome in our guest. He's on the phone. It's Bart Scott. And Bart Scott is a NFL analyst on CBS with me and also an 11-year NFL veteran, a former All-Pro linebacker. And it's always great to have him on the show and get his perspective. Bart, good morning. Great to talk to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Let's get right to it. Let's talk about one of your favorite subjects in the NFL, and that is the Baltimore Ravens and what Joe Flacco did this past week against the Miami Dolphins. Sitting next to you on Sunday at the NFL Today, you told me that you knew that the Baltimore Ravens were going to win and that they were going to win big. I thought they would win. I didn't think that Miami wouldn't show up. But the fact of the matter is you're talking about the number one defense, and you're talking about a Joe Flacco that we hadn't seen all year coming out aggressively throwing the ball down the field. Give me your impressions of what you see from the Baltimore quarterback now.
Well, first of all, ever since the Ray Lewis comments, he stepped his game up. I think he's playing with that silent confidence. I think that really put a chip on his shoulder, and his way of responding to those type of questions is to play well. He threw the ball down the field, but they had a tremendous game plan. They understood that the Dolphins were going to play that zone coverage. They had, we said don't take the tees. They had one in front, one in back, and Joe went on as one of the most accurate fastballs that you can see in the game.
Now, the Steelers, what a performance Le'Veon Bell had against the New York Giants. New York Giants come in with one of the better defenses in football and really started to play well. But right here in this show last week, I was telling everybody that, look, they're stepping up in competition. They're going to be playing against a much better quarterback, a much better running back, and certainly Le'Veon Bell showed everybody last week why he's considered one of the top three running backs in the NFL.
But we talk about that Giants 8-3. We call that a soft 8-3. Not a hard 8-3 because they played the Browns, they played the Bears, and they struggled on offense really to really I think to hit the stride that they had last year. They haven't toppled 30 points yet. And when you look at Le'Veon Bell, he's a dual threat. They said they don't value the linebacker position. Well, you got to have a good safety, which they do in Landon Collins, and you also have to have great linebacker play because he's a matchup nightmare. Ben, has the way. Him and David Johnson are the two best pass receiving running backs in the game. He's all around. He has no weaknesses. When you talk about a great running back, you talk about patience to the hole and acceleration through it, and he has it all. When he's on and when he's healthy, he's the best running back in the game.
Interestingly enough, the Steelers and the Ravens have a huge game looming down the road a few weeks from now. That game will probably decide who wins the AFC North. And, of course, out in the desert, the Redskins fall flat on their face. Kirk Cousins played a good game, not a great game. Redskins may have fallen out of playoff contention now.
Right. I don't know how many times he has to prove himself. This is going on 2 years now. That offensive is explosive. And like you said, if not him, then who? Somebody has to learn the system all over again, get continuity with the receivers, the offensive line, get used to the system. He's still a young guy. I think he plays with a bit of a chip on his shoulder, being that he was brought in as a backup to RG3. They struggled out there in Arizona. That's a tough place to play. It's always tough when you talk about traveling, from the East Coast to the West Coast or from the West Coast to the East Coast.
Time for our Twitter question of the week presented by Xfinity. And this one comes from @GolfKid45. He wants to know who has a better shot at the playoffs, the Miami Dolphins or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. #BoomerBTG. For me, Bart, I think it's the Buccaneers. Two ways they can get in. One, by overtaking the Atlanta Falcons in the NFC South and winning the division. Or if they play good enough here and win 3 out of their last 4, they could actually make it via the wild card. That is not the case for the Miami Dolphins. With a huge loss on the road last week, they would have to win, out, I think, and then maybe squeak in as a wild card team. And I just don't think there will be room there for them in that regard.
I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are quietly playing the best football this last month. James Winston has found his stride. Evans is catching everything. His catch radius, you watch him go against Sherman, it looked like a power forward versus, a very, very small shooting guard or a power forward. He's just dynamic. And quietly, Gerald McCoy, I think, should have heavy consideration for Defensive Player of the Year. But unfortunately, they're not in the market. They haven't had a lot of premier games, primetime games, so a lot of people haven't seen them. But, they're going about their business in the right way. And I think if they get in the playoffs, they're going to be dangerous. They're going to be a tough out.
Hey, if you have a question for us, tweet at us with hashtag BoomerBTG, and maybe we'll use your tweet on the show. All right, let's look ahead to a couple of really great matchups. First and foremost, the Redskins at the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not so sure that the Eagles put forth the effort that they needed to last week against the Cincinnati Bengals. As a matter of fact, the Eagles, the Jets, and the 49ers, three teams that basically did not come to play in last week's games. But now in come the Redskins. Carson Wentz has kind of hit the wall a little bit. It looks like the offensive line for the Eagles is starting to take some wear and tear, and it's starting to show itself. The one thing I always say about young quarterbacks, Bart, and I don't know if you feel this way about young linebackers, but to understand what it means to play 16 weeks and play 4 quarters every game and the stress that comes along with it, it's just not easy. It's something that you have to learn over time, and certainly Dak Prescott is learning that, but he has a much better team than the Eagles have around Carson Wentz. I think this is another tough game, but yet the future is bright in Philadelphia.
I'm very bright in Philadelphia, but, they're hitting, you speak about hitting that rookie wall. You talk about linebackers, young players. What it is we all talk about muscle memory. And if your body's never done it before, it doesn't know how to react to it. And we always used to laugh when a young guy used to come in and say, "Oh, I hurt." Like, what hurt? Like, everything. Well, you know what, kid, that's just a rookie wall. And that's why it's important for the young guys, especially early in the season, to really understand how to take care of their body, how to make sure that you really don't go out. You don't take that alcohol because it's a cumulative effect, and it pays dividends late in the season.
Now, maybe the game of the week happens on Monday night. It's Tom Brady going against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, this is my conspiracy theory, but I think Deflategate started with the playoff game between the Ravens and the Patriots back a couple of years ago. Then it was taken to the next level by the Indianapolis Colts, who are friendly with the Ravens. A number of the coaches and front office people work together in Philadelphia, so I can understand why the Ravens would basically call out Tom Brady about the rules. I would also imagine on the other side, Tom Brady is going to be very upset and really wants to make an issue about that, probably quietly, but the way that he will make an issue out of it is by throwing 3 to 4 touchdown passes against the number one defense. This one defense had trouble on the road at Dallas, but that's not who the Patriots are, and without Gronk and without Amendola, maybe you're catching this team at the right time.
The Baltimore Ravens don't fear the New England Patriots. A lot of opponents go in and they fear the New England Patriots. They don't really see the subtle things that Brady does. Don't jump before, don't move before he points out the mic linebacker, because that means that it's dummy cadence and all the little subtle things of information. They have that. So it's going to be a tight game. But if Flacco can exploit that defense, he has some good receivers. He has enough to kind of put pressure on the New England Patriots with a lack of a pass rush. Flacco can pick that defense apart, but they can't lose in situational football. They can't have turnovers. They can't get Tom Brady extra possessions.
All right, thanks so much, Bart. Always great to get your perspective. And catch us next week, everybody, when our guest will be Chris Sims from Bleacher Report and CBS. And until then, thanks for tuning in to Boomer Between the Games, presented by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV.